Months ago, I told her it might even happen at your work, and look what happened. It happened here.
Two senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News the shooter had been recently fired from his job. His name is Seth Ator, a 36-year-old white male. It started when state troopers pulled him over on Interstate 20 Saturday. Ator opened fire and took off on a 10-mile rampage, shooting people at 15 different locations.
We were driving. We had seen the state trooper chasing that car, that golden car, and we saw that he kind of just got into the median, and then we see that car that the cop was chasing. We see him kind of pull over to the side, so my husband gets on the left side, and he gets out and starts shooting at us. We saw him get back in his car, so my husband got back on the interstate, and we saw him coming closer, and I was looking in the mirror, looking back, and I could see him loading up a gun, and it looked like a long black gun.
But I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
The gold car pulled up, and the man was there, and he had a very large gun, and it was pointing at me.
We hear a bam, 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 and it was so heavy and so close that you could feel it. I happened to look over my shoulder to the left, and at that moment, the gold car was rolling up. He was fidgety and crazy, and his eyes were crazy, and he had a gun. And at that moment, there were 3 more shots. And gold car came around and followed me, and he was gaining, and he was on my back panel, and I thought, oh my gosh.
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know why either. I mean, I guess if we knew why, we could solve the problem. You know what I mean?
Birth records show Seth Ator was born in Potter County back in 1982 and lived in Amarillo until 2016.
Law enforcement sources have named the suspect in the Odessa Midland mass shootings. And his name may sound familiar to a few of us. Well, because Seth Ator once lived among us and even has a criminal history in McLennan County. Aaron Heft hit the streets of Lorena where Ator once lived for clues to his rampage in West Texas.
It was Central Texas News Now that confirmed that man has a connection to Lorena and lived down this very street. With close ties to Central Texas, we went door to door speaking to many of Ator's former neighbors. Some remembering Ator very vividly, others saying his family was exceptionally quiet. But this woman, who chose not to share her name, said her daughter went to high school with Ator.
36-year-old Seth Ator was arrested back in 2001 for criminal trespassing, evading arrest, but he got deferred adjudication on both of those charges. So the first 2 are actually misdemeanors, and this one was just a safety violation, so he does not have an extensive record, so they do not appear to be too serious.
Classmates told us that they don't remember Ator as being much of a troublemaker. Rather, they remember him being perhaps a little bit of a loner, but more than anything else, being an average guy. It is here in 2001 that he graduated from high school, and it is here just months after graduating that he had what appears to be his only previous run-in with the law on record. When Ator was 18 years old, he was arrested for criminal trespassing and evading arrest.
The suspect, a man with a very troubled past, one people in Roger Mills County remember. Abigail, folks here in Roger Mills County remember him very well. Sadly, they also remember him being in trouble his entire time here. Stories of constant trouble, even threats. We're told he stayed with his grandparents back then. Evidently, something was wrong and he never got the care he needed to get better.
Police say 36-year-old Seth Ator is from Odessa. Police knew who he was, and he had a criminal background.
But sources have confirmed that this metal building in this picture here is where Ator was last living in Odessa. On Sunday, the FBI searched this metal shack off a dirt road in West Odessa, executing a search warrant. It is here where sources say Seth Ator was staying and working for a trucking company. Sources close to the case told CBS 11 News Ator was let go from his job Saturday morning. but do not believe that's what led to his shooting spree.
Seth Ator failed a background check the first time he tried to buy a gun 5 years ago.
Who terrorized West Texas was never even supposed to have a gun. He failed a background check 5 years ago because of a mental health issue.
Yeah, 5 years ago he tried to buy a weapon from a federally licensed dealer, but failed the background check because he'd been diagnosed as mentally ill.
Sources say 36-year-old Seth Ator had previously failed a federal background check because he was determined to be mentally unfit.
Federal law enforcement sources confirm the shooter was denied a gun purchase after being determined to be mentally unfit. Texas DPS says that denial happened on January 14th, 2014.
That gunman was federally banned from owning a firearm, raising new questions about how he got it.
Law enforcement sources tell me he was on that federally prohibited list from possessing a firearm because he'd been diagnosed as being clinically mentally ill. Now, investigators turn to trying to figure out how he illegally obtained that AR-style rifle that destroyed so many lives and whether anyone helped him.
We also learned today that the shooter failed a gun background check. Investigators are trying to figure out how the shooter actually got the gun.
Sources say Seth Ator exploited a loophole in the law.
Federal law enforcement sources confirmed that the gunman in last weekend's mass shooting in West Texas purchased his AR-15 style rifle in a private sale.
Sources confirm the shooter purchased the gun from a private seller.
Well, Brooke and Doug, sources confirm that the gunman purchased his weapon from a private seller.
The Wall Street Journal reports officials think a man there sold the gunman the rifle used in Saturday's attack. The Journal reports the man not only sold the rifle used in Odessa, but made it himself illegally. Authorities say the shooter failed a background check years ago. They say it was because of a disqualifying mental health issue.
ABC News confirms they've searched the man's home in Lubbock and are questioning him as a person of interest.
Now, a producer with ABC tells us that ABC independently confirmed from law enforcement sources that the search warrant and raid in Lubbock is connected to the mass shooting in Odessa. ABC News confirming the Northern District of Texas executed a search warrant at the man's home. The Wall Street Journal reports that the ATF raided a home in Lubbock because the person was suspected of illegally manufacturing and selling a rifle.